Okay, not with that. Thank you very much, Karen Marie. Just, I suppose, full disclosure, I do know Karen Marie from the Green Party, so that's, I'm sure that's fine, hopefully. So, yes, how would we ensure local communities have approved and increased support? So, it's really important that we look at some of the causes of the issues that people have. So, cost of living, what does that mean? It means increased rent. It means bills that are skyrocketing. It means debt collectors coming to collect on council tax that hasn't been paid incredibly aggressively. What would we do to support those things? Well, first of all, we bring in rent freezes to ensure that these most vulnerable people, so some of the most vulnerable people are renters in a community, we would ensure that they are not being taken advantage of by private landlords, and ultimately we bring in rent controls. So that's something that has been discussed previously, and we can definitely learn from how that's been implemented worldwide. We'd also build 60,000 social homes within the next 10 years. And I suppose, the first question that people say is, how are you going to pay for that? Well, I would say, what's the cost of not doing that? It's the cost of people's well-being, it's the cost of people's quality of life. And I mean, what we would also do, we would also scrap council tax and replace it with a land value tax to ensure that people who perhaps are living in the lesser valued properties actually pay a less amount of tax, and those who live in potentially the more affluent areas pay their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we go to Christine from the Heritage Party, please?
Thank you. So, cost of living crisis is this is something I understand very well, not just from speaking with people, but from personal experience of financial hardship and the stress that it comes with, the impact of your well-being, your mental health, and how isolating it can be. That's why I believe we need to focus on root causes, particularly the cost of essentials like energy, which affects everything from food to daily living. We also need to support local jobs and businesses so people can stand on their own feet. I'd also like to see more support for people who have been out of work long term, because they often face the biggest barriers getting back into work. And I think we should also recognise the pressures on families. Parents should have real choice in how they raise their children without being forced into decisions purely because of financial pressures. Supporting families properly can make a real difference to both well-being and every childhood development. One area that is overlooked is childcare, as I have seen how this is a real impact on families. Through my previous work, supporting people on universal credit, I saw firsthand how fragile the system can be for parents, particularly mothers.
30 seconds.
Delays or gaps in childcare payments can put risk of losing their childcare place and in turn their job. So we would then put the money for childcare to the parents. We believe that families should have a genuine choice ability where they can return to work or reduce hours or caring for their children during those early years. And alongside that, I would like to encourage stronger local communities and people supporting each other, whether that's through local initiatives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, if you just come and take a seat there, that's okay. If you can go next, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Nice wife there, everybody. Good evening. Richard Marbrow from the Liberal Democrats. Right, improved and increased support in cost of living. So the simple answer here is that we've got to create more well-paid, high-skilled jobs. And what that doesn't mean is giving Elon Musk a tax cut to bring us more AI, because in North East Wales we make things. Because people keep saying, oh yeah, we don't make things in Britain anymore. One of the biggest toilet paper factories in the country is in Deeside. I'll tell you what, shut that down and see how long the country lasts. We make things. You want to get on an aeroplane, an Airbus aeroplane, it's almost certainly had a big chunk of it made in Broughton. And yet we keep hearing, oh yeah, we don't make things anymore. Financial services, call centres, AI. We need to actually get back to talking about the real economy that actually exists in places like North East Wales, as opposed to the economy that people thinks is all of it, which is London, Cardiff, etc., etc. One of the other things to remember is that in this country, we spend, the UK government spends £100 billion a year before it even buys a box of tea bags, because that's our debt interest repayments. So the magic money tree is all out. And one of the best ways that we could grow our economy is with a massive number of highly qualified, highly experienced, highly talented women who are locked out of the workforce because of the cost of childcare. Now it's 2026. I wish that childcare was evenly spread, but it isn't. We are fundamentally not allowing women to get back to work in Wales because the childcare offer is so much worse than in England. And you're going to see some consensus on that aspect, I suspect, tonight. And so one of the things we need to do is to increase that childcare offer in order to make sure that we can grow our economy using a massive number of highly talented people that are currently completely excluded from the workforce. So the answer isn't so much direct subsidy as enabling people to get a decent job and a secure job, a job that they know that they can hold and that they can keep and that they're not going to get kicked out of, and that's not going to be offshored, actually creating the real jobs that work for people in the future.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, thank you much indeed. Plaid Cymru, so I don't know, is it carrying on Mark's going to answer?
That's answering the first three.
All right, okay.
I'm the reserve.
Noswaith ar pawb, and lovely to see all of you here. I think when answering this question, it's important to think about what some of the key drivers of the cost of living crisis are, because they actually stretch back quite a way. You can go all the way back to 2008 and the banking crisis and the UK government bailing out the banks with public money. We've had the aftermath of COVID, haven't we? And then we've got global instability as well in terms of the war in Ukraine and more recently the war in Iran. And chuck in Brexit on top of all that, which is estimated to have knocked 4 billion off the Welsh economy. And we can see there are a lot of different drivers that have got us to where we are. So I think most people would understand that the next Welsh government isn't going to be able to solve the cost of living crisis, but I genuinely believe there's a lot more that government can do to support people through it. So there's three key policies that we're putting forward for this election. The first is funded childcare, so 20 hours a week for 48 weeks out of the year for children aged 9 months to 4 years. That's cross-cutting. We know it'll help people through the cost of living crisis. It's worth £30,000 per child. We also know that half of families living in poverty have got a child 0 to 4. So it helps you tackle poverty and it also helps you tackle the attainment gap. We've also got key policies on child poverty. You will have heard the horrific figure, 1 in 3 of our children in Wales are living in poverty. The only place that's different in terms of the trajectory is Scotland, which is the only country where child poverty is set to decrease because of the Scottish child payment. So we will trial a Welsh child payment as well to tackle poverty. And lastly, I just mentioned something that we've already managed to implement in opposition, which is free school meals for primary school children. That is something we would extend into secondary schools if we form the next Welsh Government after May. Diolch yn fawr. And I'm on time, hopefully.
Diolch yn fawr. Yes, well within time, thank you. And can I just pass you over to Corin Giles from the Labour Party?
Just apologies on being late. I had couldn't get the address, so I'm here. But thank you. Yes, cost of living. So we know cost of living is the biggest issue on the doors. We hear it all the time, and I mean, I will go through what the Labour Party is proposing. But personally, as an MS, I'd make sure constituents had easy access to that information. We know that it's really important that when you're struggling, quick and easy access to the range of support available to you is fundamentally, it's really important. So I would, advocate for further support as it's needed, in line with the economic and the geopolitical changes as they arrive, because because we know wars in different parts of the world, and we know that costs of supermarkets, etc., they're all impacted by lots of geopolitical issues that we don't have control over. But the Welsh Labour Party will put more money in people's pockets because we're lowering bus fares, we would lower energy bills, and we'd expand the childcare offer. Ensuring access to good jobs as well, it's very important, as we've heard tonight. So we're focused on creating jobs of the future, new lifelong retraining guarantee to make sure that people that aren't in work because their industries have changed can get back into different jobs. Working towards an energy independent Wales, obviously that's going to affect bills as well. Tackling poverty by putting our Welsh Benefits Charter into law, making sure that everyone can access their full entitlement to financial support, and then maintaining the discretionary assistance
30
fund
seconds.
to support people in financial crisis, and enhancing the single advice fund to provide guidance about benefits, debt relief, and continuing supporting the credit union's work on financial inclusion. All things that we've done and we will continue to do. More time. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.